Okay, so I'm doing a video now on chord symbols and using these in analysis of harmony. So here we can see all of the chord symbols that you may need to use. So beginning with the most simple would be a C major chord in root position. So you simply use the letter capital C. Minor chords also use an uppercase letter, capital letter D, but to show that it's minor and not major, you use a little m. Okay, so E minor, F major chord, G major chord, A minor chord. B diminished chord also uses a capital B, but the little circle here to distinguish it from a major chord. The circle means diminished. So those are root position labels. Now, if you use inversions or if you need to label an inversion, you put a slash underneath the chord symbol, C major chord, and you say what note is in the bass. So that's what we have here. A first inversion, C major chord, where the E is the lowest sounding note. That's also known as a 6/3 chord, or in Roman numeral, and in figured bass labeling, there we have the 1/6 in C major. Okay, so these are all first inversion chords. A D minor chord over F, E minor chord over G, F major over A, G major over B, A minor over C, B diminished over D. So if you saw a second inversion B diminished chord, that would have an F as the lowest sounding note. That would be B diminished over F. So it's really simple. It just describes what you see. And the one other thing to point out here is that the notes that you're describing in the bass and labeling in the bass here are all lower case. Okay, so we can go ahead and apply these chord labels to this passage of music. I'm just going to do this below these two lines here. So we have B flat, F, B flat, and D. B flat, F, B flat, and D. Those are the four notes of the chord. So what chord is that? This sometimes can throw people. So, okay, so let's just go ahead and write out those notes. B flat, F, B flat, and D. So we need to make those, work out what it would look like just as a simple triad. So B flat, F, and D. We need to write them out on the stave so that we can make it look like either a line, 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 or space, space, space alignment of notes. So there's an F, there's a B flat, and there's a D. Just write them anywhere in close position. Now just shuffle them around until we can make them into the simplest configuration, whether on either all lines or all spaces. So if you just move the F up an octave, that's what's going to be the answer. B flat, F, and D. B flat, therefore, is the root of the chord. And because B flat is in the bass of this chord, it's simply a B flat chord. Okay, so in order to do this, I am looking at seeing what notes are in the key signature, just so that I know exactly what the notes are in the passage of music. But I haven't even thought about what the name of the key signature is. I happen to know that it is B flat major. But you actually don't really, you just need to know what the pitches are that you're dealing with in reference to the key signature. These chord symbols don't change in the way that Roman numerals do. These are in reference to the notes of the chord, they don't work in relation to the overall key, if you see what I mean. So they are a very local labeling system. So here we have in beat 2, we have G, B flat, E flat, and B flat there. So the note names contained in that chord are an E flat, a G, and a B flat. So I'd go through the same process in my head of shuffling these notes around so I can see what the root of the chord is. So I look at that and I know it's an E flat, E flat, G, B flat chord. E flat is the root, but the root is not in the bass voice. It's actually being sounded in the soprano, but not the bass. The third is in the bass. The G of the chord is in the bass. So E flat chord, it's a major chord over G. So we do need to know whether it's a major chord, a minor chord, a diminished chord. This is an E flat major chord, E flat, G, B flat. Okay, here's another one, beat 3, D, D, A, F. D, F, A is a D minor chord. D minor chord. So that's a little M to show minor next to the capital D. Beat 4 is a G, D, B flat chord. These little circles here, in this exercise, we're told us to disregard these for now because they are more complicated. They're complicating the fact that we're just underlying this as really a G, D, B flat chord. It's a G minor chord. Okay, and it's in root position, so all we need is a capital G and lowercase m. Then the next bar we have a C, E flat. Think of the A as being the chord tone and E flat. The G is there as an accented sort of decoration, so we disregard that for the purposes of labeling this chord. So what is that? C, A, and E flat are the chord tones. So if you line them up as A, C, and E flat on some manuscript, that is a root position chord. So A is the root, okay, but it's not in the bass, but it's an A, it's a diminished chord, so you have to work out that it's diminished. And the bass note is a C. And next we have this B flat F, B flat D chord, so that's simply a B flat chord. Then we have F, F, A, C is an F chord, root position, and another F chord.